My name is Naomi Jane,
I'm Michelle Voigt.
and you're watching Santa Barbara Talks with Josh Molina.
Welcome to Santa Barbara Talks with Josh Molina. It's such a pleasure today to be here with Robin Elander, who is the Executive Director of the Downtown Santa Barbara Improvement Association. And Robin, it's great to have you on the show. You've been on several times talking about all the amazing work you do. And so here we are again, and we're kind of at the heart of another turning point, a flashpoint here in State Street in downtown Santa Barbara. So first, welcome. I appreciate
Thank
you
you. Thank you so
joining.
much for the opportunity. Good to see you again. Really happy to be here.
Thank you. So let's dive right in. There's so much talk right now going on about the future of State Street. And so, what is happening with the Downtown Santa Barbara Improvement Association's petition and effort to reopen State Street, at least one lane, part of it to vehicles, as well as a whole host of different proposals there? Talk to us. What's going on? What's the energy that's happening right now with this proposal?
Yeah, so this proposal is really an effort to reunite our community around this issue of State Street open or closed. Obviously, our community is very divided on this. You've heard it before, others have shared it. And this proposal allows for us to have a balanced, flexible approach, essentially, an opportunity to reintroduce vehicles in a one lane configuration while still having space for outdoor dining, uh, safer designated spaces for pedestrians and bikes and shuttles, and allowing us to have those retractable bollards to ultimately open and close the street really whenever we want for special events, for parades, for farmers markets, etc. What we have seen is that the data shows that there are about 600,000 less visitors coming to downtown annually since prior to the pandemic and when the street was closed. While the numbers of people visiting each year has slowly increased year over year since the street was closed to vehicles and the pandemic occurred, it is not recovering as quickly and returning visitors as well as other districts in the city, which have really regained and then, in some cases, exceeded their pre-pandemic numbers. And we really are seeing this as a concerning data point because we want to make sure that our downtown businesses, our beloved businesses that make our community function, are able to get the highest number of customers that we could offer them. And so what we've seen is that the data shows that guests, whether they're locals or visitors, are not continuing up the street. They're stopping right at the barricade at the intersection of Haley and State Street. And they're parking there or staying there. And they're not continuing all the way up to the Arts District. And because of that, we really need to make sure that we are not harming all of downtown with our current configuration. We want to create a flow. And what we're seeing is that there's not a flow, and there's also some nuisance related activities that are happening at times when there's not peak foot traffic. So, say for example, farmers market, beautiful moment in time where we don't want to do anything about that except elevate the farmers market. But during, say, a Monday morning or afternoon or an off peak time, there are just not enough people on the street to really have the right sense of place and also continue commerce at the right level. And so we need to be able to have some circulation. It does not have to be a car centric place in full. It does have to be a place that functions for economic vitality. And that's really the crux of this argument here. is that we need to have that flow. And so what we've done is created a petition that essentially is asking the community to come together on this issue, to kind of let go of this dug in one side or the other side, and to find a middle ground to move forward and to advance downtown into the future and really support having that flexible design that we get a little bit of everything that we all want.
Hmm. Yeah, it makes sense intuitively. And I know when I'm down there, once you get to the 500 block, the sort of mood kind of actually, I guess that would be the 400 block. The mood kind of changes right there with the just sort of how the street is, the types of businesses. It's definitely a vibe shift for sure. And so I could see how, tourists definitely might decide to turn around or maybe head to the funk zone or something like that. Your group uses this Placer IA data that tracks. Can you talk a little bit about what that is?
Sure.
Imagine it's cell phones, but how does that work?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's called Placer AI, and it's a software that uses cell phone data, um, and it tracks where people are analytically. It doesn't have the specific person, like it's all anonymous. But when you sign up for an app or you sign up for pretty much anything that you use your phone for, this company is able to utilize that information. And what we can do is create little rectangles around different sections of downtown. And that's what we've done. So we have divided out and put a geographical rectangle around the area of State Street that is close to vehicles right now and compared foot traffic and people who have stayed in that space for more than 10 minutes um, annually, year over year, and since 2018. And so this data is showing us the information specifically as to what we're trying to make decisions on, or at least have an understanding on. And what we've also seen is that this data, while the city compared a different segment of data, downtown versus other districts within the city, and we are seeing that the numbers, the counts before and after the pandemic is just really pretty significantly different.
Yeah. So it's basically if you have your iPhone in your pocket or wherever on you, it's tracking where you're going and where you're stopping and where you're
Exactly.
moving. Yeah.
Yep.
So, and of course it is anonymous. Now, what one of the questions that I get is how will opening a lane to traffic, one lane, two lanes, whatever the proposal is at the time, how will that actually help people shop more or eat more downtown? It isn't as though you can park on State Street. You still kind of have to find a place to park or go to the parking lot. So what is the thinking on the traffic, the vehicles actually contributing to a improvement in the business vitality downtown?
Sure. That question is something I have received as well, and it's really goes back to that flow and the ability for someone, especially who's a visitor or a local who hasn't been downtown for a little while, to at least take one pass of downtown. It's approximately a mile area that not statistics show that people don't walk usually more than a 2 block radius from wherever they park.
Hmm.
So, with that said, it gives them an opportunity to at least do one pass from time to time and say, "Ooh, look, there's some new stuff happening. There's a new restaurant, there's a new shop." They are not going to then drive up and down State Street quite a number of more times. They're going to do kind of a look. And that is one of the things that's missing as part of the full package, in part because we just we have this really elongated area. If you are able to only park on one side and one side. And that was it. Like, for example, in Pearl Street, I just visited there kind of as a recon visit, but also a opportunity to meet up with a friend who happens to be there, my equivalent in downtown Boulder.
Mm.
So she's the executive director. And their Pearl Street Mall is a 4 block area, and it's surrounded by parking. It's surrounded by all of the downtown amenities, but it also is just a pretty short stint of area. And so there, it's just a different feeling. And then also there's alleys behind all of the businesses. So you can drop off equipment, deliveries, things of that nature. Our street is just not built for that. And deliveries need to happen earlier than 10 a.m. in our current configuration. And it just kind of doesn't have the right level of flow that allows for the vitality of commerce that is necessary for, a thriving district. And so it is not an absolute one for one. This is a multi-prong approach. We are also cleaning downtown at a very significant new level. We're adding vacant window beautification projects. We're upgrading the paseos. This is not, add vehicles and everything is going to be perfect and better. But this is one of a multi-pronged data-driven approach to support kind of there's some significant number of people who are not coming downtown to the same degree as they were before. And we want to make sure that we're capturing those individuals as well as the people who are enjoying it now. So we're really trying to find that balance.
And what is the thinking on the lane being open going north as opposed to toward the beach? Why is the proposal to go in that direction versus toward Cabrillo Boulevard?
We feel that flow tends to be the way people enjoy our city. So they're checking out the beach and then they're coming up through downtown. It and then they can flow around back in kind of this circular pattern. We already have the one-way lanes on Anacapa to be able to kind of return back down.
Yeah, I guess I'm looking at it like from my local perspective, coming in, headed to the beach. But you're right, the tourists are coming up. They're starting down there. So that's interesting. If people sign this petition, and you kind of touched on it in terms of the work that is already happening, but what are they signing on for? So they're signing on opening it, what, from the 500 to the 1200 block? What specifically, and what else is part of this proposal?
Sure. So it's essentially signing on that they would like to join us in making a recommendation to City Council for a one-lane configuration of the street to add these retractable bollards at each intersection so that the various blocks can be open or closed at any point in time, that um, the sidewalks could be expanded for outdoor dining to continue up the length of the street, that there's safer uh, designated areas for pedestrians, bikes, and vehicles. And so we are still having a two-way bike lane next to the vehicle lane and separated from the sidewalk. And so those are the key elements that we are including in that. And ultimately, City Council has the opportunity to decide how to direct the newly hired, probably as of tomorrow, consultants to finish the master plan. And what we want to do is really share with them how we would like to make sure that this is a flexible design, such that we're not setting ourselves up for only having pedestrians only for the foreseeable future, because that will potentially limit the number of customers downtown for the foreseeable future. And this allows for both.
Okay. And is there thing happening Tuesday. I know that the council will be talking about the State Street Master Plan consultant contract going forward. Is the Downtown Santa Barbara Improvement Association formally on the agenda, or will you be speaking as part of a larger topic? What is
Really
the
good question.
logistic?
So when this petition initiative started, we were anticipating that this upcoming Tuesday or the 21st would have an update on the State Street Master Plan, and the council would be making a recommendation as to where they wanted that plan to go and to have the element of the street open closed element to be discussed. Unfortunately, that is no longer an agenda item, but we are using this as an opportunity to share with the consultants, as I mentioned before, what we'd like to see in the plan. We are not on the agenda. It will be more of a simple public comment and trying to really also share that time is of the essence. This what is something, this elongated process with the master plan is really dividing our community in a way that is very unfortunate. It's time to bring our community back together. It's time to not have a temporary plan for downtown, and that's unfortunately limiting investment. People are not sure what's going to be happening next, and we need to, advance that so that we have a plan.
So you will be speaking, or there will be some conversation during public comment during the other consultant contract. Is that the idea?
Yeah.
Oh, and politically, are you talking to council members? Have you seen any sort of interest in them, feedback? Are they liking this idea in your conversations with them, or what are you hearing about this petition?
Yeah, it's a good question. We have spoken to our council members in advance of this on this subject that we share that we are interested in sharing some data points along this lines. And we are getting some support for this, but I think time will tell if how far they want to go. It is a divided council, and that's why it's important for us to find this middle ground. I do believe there is this opportunity for a middle ground with our council because of the fact that it has been divided. So I'm hoping that this is a path forward that they can support.
Right.
And I have received feedback that some are open to that. But I don't want to, call out any council members. I want them to ultimately speak for themselves at the time in which is right for them.
Yeah, no, definitely. I know it's out there and I know people are talking about it. And, I know in my reporting there are people who are very excited about having something that is a proposal like this. I'm not speaking for all of them, but I know that there is some of that energy behind this idea. The retractable bollards. I like that because one thing I notice is that when things are programmed, right, when there are events or activities, State Street is an amazing place to be with no cars. It's vibrant. People are happy, celebrating, there's activity, they're on the street. And that's fun, and I think when people visualize what State Street could be, they pick those moments in time. The reality is, the rest of the time, it is not like that. It is a lot of e-bikers, and it's just sort of empty or variety of sort of a mishmash of activity there. Are you thinking with these retractable bollards that it would still allow for those events and programming to continue on specific days and times? So people, when there's a lane of traffic, it's not like it's always that way forever. We can still
Absolutely.
have our downtown events, right?
That's exactly right. So, exactly what you said before, there are moments that we have these vibrant event moments that we plan and we make possible, whether it's the dance classes or whether it's a block party event or a holiday concert, etc. Those would absolutely still continue, and that's what makes those retractable bollards make everything work and make it easier. So we put those up, we put all of the event equipment out, we make the item happen for 1 to several hours, and then they go down, and then cars come back afterward. The evening or night happens, the next day might be the farmer's market, have that go on at the time that everybody is cleaned up. The ballards can go down, and then essentially, there's those extra eyes on the street that a vehicle can allow for overnight. So there's also just these things that you mentioned, whether it's wheelies or whether it's various other nuisance related activities. When there's less activity in an urban area, less than stellar things take place. And so this allows us to have that safety and welcoming space that more activity is happening all of the time. And that allows for just that comfort. Like, for example, I've shared this a number of times with folks, but say you go to an event, maybe a party at a building, and the space is really large. It's quite a large space, and there's only, say, 100 people in there when it should fit 1,000 people, right? That's the conundrum we're in with downtown in part right now. When the event or the foot traffic is not kind of with the largesse of the space that goes up and down State Street, it does not feel right. It's not, the form does not meet the function for the moment. And this bollards and a one lane configuration would allow for the street to be used as a street when it makes sense to use it as a street, and to be used as an event space, a community functioning, lovely space for people to connect and to enjoy their downtown. And then it switches, and it allows for a special event to be more special, and then the other times to just function better as a urban environment.
Yeah. You Will we get a holiday parade back or a solstice, or is that part of this at all
Really good
eventually?
question. So that is somewhat part of this, but it's not an absolute direct. So we are planning to bring back the holiday parade next December. That is something we put a stake in the ground, and we are planning to do that. So we're very excited about that. That is not absolutely a one for one here. If the street stays currently like it is, we could still have that. If we have a if we get this one lane configuration, we could still have that. The city, that's kind of a separate conversation, but ultimately the city has shared that they are willing to have parades back on State Street, though they have given us some guidelines as to what those can look like going forward. And in order to have a safe community events, they do want to have those to be walking parades on State Street going forward, whether or not we have vehicles back on State Street, in part just because of the saturation of people, and because State Street is a tighter configuration of sort of the overall environment than Cabrillo or Santa Barbara Street. Though, if those parade organizers want to come back to State Street, they will have the opportunity to to have their parade there in a way that the city is willing to navigate, but it would most likely need to be a walking parade. Which solstice is, which aspects of Fiesta is, the children's parade is a walking parade. So there are elements that could be. So that is certainly part of one of the key things that our organization wants to be able to bring back as parades as well.
Okay, great. I know you're very busy, so I just got a couple more questions for you.
Sure.
You touched upon the State Street Master Plan, and we do know I wrote a story about it, that it's on the agenda. Can you talk a little bit about sort of your perspective? And I know you're doing a specific thing, as executive director, and you want to talk about that mostly. But if you could take a step back, this State Street Master Plan has been going on for several years. They paid, or they had a contract for 780,000 with MIG. At the time, that was sort of controversial. It was a lot of money, and Of course, things happened, but it wasn't the progress. It wasn't at the speed that everyone wanted. There were almost 20 meetings, a little more than 20 meetings. Everybody put in a lot of effort. Of course, you did. You
Sure.
were on there, right? So there was work, but then the city apparently decided to terminate the contract. They're going to try to transfer that to someone else and increase it a little bit. Can you talk about the state of downtown and State Street? I mean, what do you think of where we're at in terms of the city's progress in terms of trying to find a solution here to what's happening?
In relation to the master plan or just in general?
Well, whatever you want, I guess. Whatever you feel comfortable saying. I think that overall, right, there are people who feel like it's wonderful, it's fantastic. I love that I can go down there and walk or in the street or ride a bike. And then there are people who say it's a mess. I don't understand. I can't go down there. They can't get it right, you know. And so there's a wide range. What's your take on the situation downtown?
Really good question. Well, for starters, downtown is a work in progress. It's in a state of change. So there's going to be a lot of opinions about that. And while there's change going on, uh, people are uncomfortable because change is difficult and change can be exciting, but it's like, what is happening here, right? And so we've been in a state of change, I mean, for quite some time, and we're trying to, solidify, but also, keep updating the things that need to be updating, but try to like regain a sense of where we're going and what we're doing. I think that's been difficult for our community. Our community has, for some time, the way I see it is there's we've had a heyday in Santa Barbara for a really long time. We've just had a lot of visitation. We've had relatively good economic conditions for quite a long time. Our community hasn't had to try the way that maybe some other communities have had to try in terms of doing economic development work, doing outreach and like really recruitment for businesses and do the targeted development work that other downtowns really have to dig in and do. That said, now we're starting to do that work, and I think that we are um, struggling with that new process. And so, in an effort to do that, our city has created this effort to do a master plan. It has lasted so long that our community is frustrated by that. It has turned out to be a very difficult thing for our community to kind of stomach and understand and also get a handle on all of the parts. What all is included in there is really robust. And that's why it's so difficult. It's not just a, a design. It's a whole new way of thinking about downtown. It's really this extra elements of wayfinding. It's a new kind of look to enter downtown. It's a new circulation. It also includes stormwater management. If downtown State Street, the actual street is the storm drain. If there's a rain event, the street is used as kind of the movement of the water. It's not like necessarily all underneath. And so as you change and want to change the way the street is laid out, and potentially flatten it or things of that nature, it adds a lot of layers of things to figure out. We also have downtown's the bike spine, as people have talked about it. We want to preserve that, but because there's only so much space in the street and there's all these other things, if we were building this area from scratch, back in the, who knows, the 20s, the 1800s, and we just built it as we wanted it at that point, that would be one thing. But that's not where we're at. We've got a lot of businesses, a lot of people, a lot of families that have put their livelihoods into this space over, generations of families. And because of all of that, we're coming together with a strong community discussion on that. And so when that happens, sometimes people can really hear each other's other sides, and sometimes they don't. They just get mad and they just speak over here with their friends who agree with them. And sometimes they do the same over here. And unfortunately, I think because of that, we are at the point that we're at. So what our organization is trying to do is to bring that conversation together and to try to, we've been trying to hear both sides of these issues and find a happy medium. Happy, I don't know. Medium, more so.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. And you make a good point. Speaking only with your friends who agree with you is a recipe for slowing down or not making progress,
Right.
because you have to listen to other people to compromise. No one gets it all the way they want, especially when it comes to urban planning. So that's a good point. Robin, one more question. I covered the formation of the Downtown Santa Barbara Improvement Association and sort of how it happened, but can you just talk a little bit about that sort of power dynamic? Because in the past, the businesses were sort of the key players in the organization you were with Downtown Santa Barbara. And now I believe the property owners are now the players in terms of the vision of the organization. They're the ones who pay to tax themselves to try to improve downtown. And so there's been a bit of a shift there in terms of direction. And so can you just talk about that shift and how it happened and how it's different than how we used to know downtown Santa Barbara?
Sure. Well, let me just kind of backtrack a little bit and explain how that happened and why that happened, and then just talk about where we are. So, for more than 50 years, the downtown organization operated under what's called a business improvement district. It's not that dissimilar from where we're at, but it was based on funds from a fee on a business license that people paid. Over a lot of years, that brought in about $250,000 a year to support downtown. And that was a portion, along with some contracts with the city for marketing, and then earned income was the total budget for the downtown organization. So it's very limited in scope, and it was only able to do so much for our downtown. The businesses within that group and the board at the time, which is a very significant still portion of the current Downtown Santa Barbara Improvement Association board, felt that they needed a more significant funding source and a more consistent funding source to be able to support downtown at the higher level that we need, that we're able to operate and share with now. And so through that, they a process took place to ultimately find out if the property owners were willing to assess themselves at a higher level in order to have a new funding source, which turns out now to be $2.2 million to ultimately increase the services for janitorial, landscaping, maintenance, and branding, marketing, all of the things that we're rolling out right now. Because of the fact that we did not want to have two organizations serving downtown, we asked our business community if we could transfer all assets from the downtown organization into the new Downtown Santa Barbara Improvement Association. So the remaining funding, the intellectual property, the staff, and the programs. And so they voted to do that and to ultimately put those under this new organization. So then a new board was developed because it is required by law to have a majority property owners to be able, because that's who's paying for it. We have a diversity of businesses and properties owners on there, 19 individuals who are serving as the board of directors for downtown. So yes, um, that there's some aspects of a shift because we have more resources to really deploy in a more significant portion of our budget. Well, zero portion of our previous budget was for cleaning and maintenance. Now, um, 66% of the budget is for that. And so we are really dedicating more time and effort to that. But with that comes a lot of different personalities and people who want to make that change. So we are inviting the entire community to be part of our organization, and you can see who's now operating on our board. But we have a range of individuals from the owner of Lilac Patisserie is on our new board. We have Richard Yates from Opal on our board. Our new we have Chris Klein from Hotel Santa Barbara is a new board member as of this last September. And we're really looking to, our goal is to diversify our representation to ultimately serve all of downtown. So we not only want to serve the property owners, but also, of course, the business owners that we've been serving for more than 57 years. So that is the intention here, to bring everybody together and to be serving everyone under one roof. Is that an easy change? No. But it is something that is a work in progress to support the greater good of downtown. And although if we didn't do this, we would not have the funds and be able to serve downtown in the way that we are.
Well, that's great. Robin Elander, I appreciate you taking time to explain what's happening and your work and the petition and what it means and sort of the how we got here and possibly the future. So thanks so much for
Thank
taking
you.
time and good luck to you. And I'll see you around, I'm sure, at one of these
Absolutely.
meetings very
Really
soon. Okay.
appreciate all your coverage in our community. Thank you for all your passion and support.
Okay. Thanks, Robin. Have a good day. Take care.
Bye bye.